Hey everyone, I'm on another removal job with Brandon back there. Where is he? There he is on the phone. There's the tree that is coming down today. It's a white oak. Looks like it's got some interesting size to it. It's about 3 feet in diameter at breast height, and the kind of base area there flares out to about 4 feet or so. So pretty good sized log. I think it's about maybe close to 20 feet tall or so. So we should be able to get a couple of decent logs out of there. This one's gonna be a little bigger. This one's got a bunch of like burls and old limbs and stuff, so it should produce some interesting slabs. These ones should be pretty clean. Maybe some crotch figure from this old limb here, and the figure from the compression wood and the buttress will make some pretty cool slabs. So 2 logs. Gonna try and get them on the trailers and get the tree dropped. So this thing is all positioned and ready to go, and as always, let's talk a little bit about how we're going to go about sawing this thing and some of the decisions now to kind of hopefully get the lumber that I'm after. So the biggest thing here is going to be this big section of rot, and on the lower section of the tree, the base had a lot of that. So that, as I guess kind of an aside, it's kind of weird for white oak to have that much rot. Usually this stuff has some pretty good rot resistance. So I'm guessing this tree was topped and left standing for numerous years to have this much rot infiltration this far down to the tree and all the way down to the base. So that's probably what caused a lot of the rot, but it must have been a long time because white oak has a ridiculously long rot resistance. So the way this log looks right now, kind of like with the sapwood all kind of mushy and punky, this is essentially the same kind of look that the logs had that I made my farmhouse table out of. The sapwood was totally gone, but the heartwood was still solid. That log was laying down in the woods for maybe like a decade or so before I sawed it. So this must have been standing for quite a while with the top knocked off. So a couple of things we're doing here. So I have the log oriented so I can take some slabs down through here and get nice clear sections that don't have any rot in it. And then when we get down around here, we'll start seeing some rot happen. And I guess we'll see kind of how the rot progresses as we get down there. It's very possible if the rot doesn't stay consistent here, it could change in its orientation towards the top of the log. We'll see that as we get into it. Now, one kind of comment that I got when I first showed this log was people asking if I was going to quarter saw this. And the answer is no, but I have a couple of reasons. So first off is the log itself. With quarter sawn lumber, what you're really trying to go for there is really straight grained, clear, defect-free lumber that has nice quarter sawn figure. This log is not a straight grain log. It has a lot of limbs coming off of it. So just by virtue, it wouldn't really produce the best, I guess, grade quality quarter sawn lumber. The other thing is I don't care to saw quarter sawn lumber. It's a lot of work and kind of a pain in the butt. And I get as much quarter sawn lumber as I need from plane sawing. So as I'm coming down through here, when we get around to the pith here, we'll get a few slabs that are going to be quarter sawn on each side of the pith or the center of the tree. You're going to get that on any log that you are plane sawing, and for me, that's plenty quarter sawn material. I don't make projects entirely out of quarter sawn stock, and honestly, just having the larger slabs, especially this width, is easier to sell if I do plan to sell it. So that's my little spiel on quarter sawing. So one other thing I'll note is that I did pick up this end down here. Since this thing is laying down on this kind of limb area down there, which is scooping down and making this side wider than it is down here, I've lifted this side up so that the flat side of the log is nice and level across the bed, and that'll give the boards a grain that's going to be continuous from end to end instead of having some kind of grain run out. So examining this side, I think it's pretty evident this was topped and left standing for a long time, since there's so much rot up here and this cut is very weathered and just kind of mushy. So either this was cut a long time ago or something above this was cut off and left for a while and allowed rot to infiltrate into here, and then this cut was made to remove that whole section of rotted area, and it's pretty much the same story over here on this side. So with the amount of rot in the sapwood, this will likely end up being edged at some point depending on the project this gets used for. I don't think this sapwood is going to be very salvageable. At least the stuff that's exposed here is quite mushy. So first cut's going to come up somewhere right in here, so about 32 inches off the bed, and that'll give us a nice, decently wide first cut and give us some good sized roof piece. So this is going to be about an 18-inch wide cut or so. And then for those who are interested, the end down here is about 28 inches wide. And the whole log, I think, is a bit over 10 feet. Let me see. 122 inches long. Also got some sweet mushrooms growing on here, so those will get cut off pretty soon. Come on, gravity. So far, pretty clear, pretty clean looking stuff. Just kind of come down here. It's all clear all the way down to this kind of weird knot area down here. We have a lot of really interesting things going with the grain. Got a lot of circular patterns going around this limb here, or I guess it's not, and another small knot there. But really nice clean stuff. You can see the sapwood is pretty much gonna be totally gone though. Still really hard in the center though. So I'm just gonna go ahead and make all the cuts until I can't anymore, and then we'll start offloading slabs. So as I was making these cuts, I can feel that there is probably a rot pocket somewhere in this area. As I was coming through on maybe like the 4th, 5th, and 6th cuts, it just kind of sped through here. I could feel the resistance really drop off. So I'm expecting to be some pretty good amount of rot down here. Down towards that end though, for most of the cuts, they felt pretty solid though. So I guess we'll see. Time to start offloading these guys, and I think I'm gonna stick them kind of over here in the driveway. Not really sure where these slabs are gonna go. I think Brandon might take these back to his log yard because I don't really have anywhere here to put them. So the spot is gonna be a little bit of a temporary space until we get the other log here and we figure out what we're gonna do with all this wood. This is surprisingly clear and pretty for such a junk log. Let's take a look. Yeah, that's pretty nice. That's some nice white oak. So we do have some rot standing around these kind of knot areas down here. And we got a little bit of the swirly green kind of thing going on here. But kind of up through the middle here, very clear, very nice. We got a little bit of fracturing up here, and then we got a little bit of a split towards the top there. But I'd say that's a pretty good piece of wood for a pretty junky log. Coming through here, through the narrowest part between the sapwood, we've got about 18 inches or so. So between this one and probably the next one is also going to be pretty clear. You could edge this and book match them and have a whole tabletop out of two kind of junky boards, which is exactly what I did with the farmhouse table. Oh, that's cool. It's a limb that was cut off and then the wound healed really nicely. So you can see this dark bit right here. That is some of that rot. So this is just the staining surrounding it. And this will really show itself as we start getting into the next slab. Look at this, another limb that came off and kind of healed around it. That's got some figure around it as well. Some figure surrounding it, as well as some Rayfleck from a quarter sawn kind of orientation in this one little area. And then coming down through here, here's a closer look at that one limb that was cut off and the tree grew around it. Got that crack down here as well, which is a cool detail. And you're starting to see some more rot staining towards the top as well. Although for this big a board and this gnarly a tree, this is pretty clear. Ooh. Yeah, that's pretty much gonna be mush. So there is that dry rot all through here. So this is all pretty much gone all the way up through here. And you start getting some staining and that crack kind of comes back in down here. So kind of interesting slab though. So if you were to, let's say you wanted to use this piece of wood, so you have kind of two options. If you want to use the full width, you would have to stabilize all of this with some kind of epoxy, which isn't the end of the world. Or if you're just looking for some good wood, you have these nice clear cuttings on the outside you can still pull a decent board out of. That's what, like 6 to 8 inches wide there, and you're starting to get in some quarter saw material here because you got some Rayfleck coming through there as well. So you get a little bit of quarter sawn board out of the side here and then up through here. But this area up here makes some pretty interesting kind of like, I don't know, slabish type thing. We have a crack that you want to stabilize and an interesting crotch area. So if, like this area down is like a good little coffee table type of slab. But this is just cool too, this knot area with all of this compression figure underneath, some more figure along the top. Just kind of a cool little detail in the tree, I guess. So now we're getting into some super rotten stuff. You can see this thing kind of came apart as I was moving it off of here. But there's still some really interesting stuff in here. Check out all of this Rayfleck. That's all quarter sawn through there. So you have a nice strip of quarter sawn stock in case you want to use just this section of slab. You got a little bit of wood that's fairly usable unless you want to stabilize all of this. But check out the Rayfleck down on here. That's got some pretty nice Rayfleck as well. So you could grab a 8-10 inch wide board out of there and have a nice little bit of quarter sawn stock for something. There's a little more peeking through down here too. So again here we're going to have some more rot, a lot of rot, but some nice bits of quarter sawn figure along the edges. So some nice usable material right here, nice quarter sawn material there, and then the same kind of thing on this side. You got a nice little band of stable quarter sawn material there. Into here it's just kind of stained, but also still quarter sawn, and then you get into kind of the rot area. So this would be some interesting colored quarter sawn material as you're coming up through here where the stain band starts. It's not rotten until over here, but it has this nice banding of stain through there, which is pretty cool. I wish I had the camera recording for picking up this one because it just totally folded in on itself as I was picking it up. That center area is totally gone. Probably didn't even have to carry these over here with the trailer because they're probably light enough to move by hand. It's got a bit of weight to it, but nowhere near what it should for something this big. I was going to do this one side here. This is probably the only salvageable, not rotten area. But this side's got some pretty heavy Rayfleck from that quarter saw. Check it out. It's like a tiger. A lot of Rayfleck on that one. So that's it for all the slabs that have been cut. Time to head back over there and roll that log over. So I didn't really plan for this. There's a hole there, so that supports up in that hole now. So I'm gonna see what I can do to get this log unimpaled. Like got a pretty nice little hole going here. Ew, what is that? It's like tar. Ugh. 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 I don't know what this is. It's kind of gross though. What do you think that is? It's kind of mushy, kind of like tar, or like jam. Is someone making jam in the tree? I don't know. Let's get these things off of here and stack though. So not really a whole lot notable on this one. You got some pretty clear straight grain stuff through here. Through the middle, you got a lot of rot coming through here to a hole. Another kind of rotted knot down here. Some more clear stuff down there, and a big old hole up here. That is that one. Let's see if the other one's any different. I doubt it will be. I think the last one should be pretty good though. Let's see, probably nothing crazy going on here either. Yeah, you got some solid stuff out here. It's got some rot stains, so it's actually kind of nice. It has a really deep red, almost cherry color, but it's white oak. That's kind of cool. Good amount of rot out here. That's all mush, all of that. But some good clear stuff and clean stuff down here at the end as well. So again, some small cuttings out of this one. So nothing too crazy on this one either. We're getting past the rot now, so we're back into some nice clean, not rotten stuff. Got a little bit of a rot pocket still over here. Some clean stuff over here, and then again some more clean stuff towards the bottom. So another one with some smaller cuttings that are actually pretty good looking. So I ended up stacking the slabs over here on top of the red oak log that my dad helped me slab over Thanksgiving last year. I have the decent ones right here. These guys have a lot of missing material in the middle, and this is the last one that just has a little bit of material still in it that still looked pretty good. The rest of the slabs I went ahead and processed down into the usable bits. So here's an example of that. That's a nice little cornerstone block that could be used for whatever in the future. When they're kind of cut up like that, they're also easier to store. And if they're being used for smaller things like for square stock for turning or for leg stock if you're doing furniture, having them small like that just makes it a little bit more manageable, and you can stick them really anywhere to let them dry. So a hollow log or a rotted out log like this one works out really well for a furniture maker for leg stock. So back when I built the Highboy, the cabriole legs came out of a hollowed out log. So that was a cherry log that I had sawn and saved years ago for the exact purpose of having square stock for legs. So a rotted out or a hollow log is still useful for things like square stock and small project parts and that kind of thing. The other kind of concept that I'm excited to share with this whole experience is this idea that the value of the material is going to increase the further down the line you get. And that's not just because there is someone putting value-added service or value-added something into that material. Each step in the process, the person doing that process absorbs more of the risk as you get further down the process, and you're also paying for that. So the idea here is a standing tree is worth less than a log on the ground. That's for two reasons. The first reason, it takes the input of someone to actually cut that tree down and turn it into a log. That's the value add. And there's also the risk that that tree may not produce as good of a saw log as you think. And that's a pretty good example of that right here. When we went to go cut this thing down, it still looked like it was in good shape. But as Brander removed that wedge and we took a look at the actual wedge that was removed, we could see there was a ton of rot down there at the bottom of the tree, and that just was a sign that the rest of the tree probably wasn't going to be that great. So that's something to consider if you're going out and buying standing timber. You need to factor in that risk in your value of that material. And that flows down through the entire process as well. If you have a log that looks good, you could saw it and it could have a hollow pocket in the middle. It could be not as figured as you thought it would be. So that's another risk there that the sawyer takes. Going down further from there during the drying process, that material that was perfect when it was cut could warp or check or crack along the way until you had the final product that is the dried board that doesn't really have any more risk at that point. So kind of a cool takeaway from this one. So maybe someday I'll get that butt section here and get it cut up when I am really bored. But it was definitely fun loading something so big and awkward. So that's going to do it for this one. Thank you as always for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments on sawing junky, terrible, worthless logs, please feel free to leave me a comment. As always, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. And until next time, happy woodworking.